Hey guys, it's Chris here, just bringing you another quick video here on the Gouldian finches. Just thought I'd kind of highlight them here. Get this zoomed in here for them. Highlight them here for a minute. We're gonna look in a couple of their nest boxes. I've had a few pairs that have paired up. They've laid eggs, and we'll kind of show you up here. They're in there looking at the nests, and I have 3, possibly 4 pairs that have paired up, have laid eggs in the nest boxes, and have been incubating on a full-time basis. The very low right nest, there's one of my hens is in there. I have had some questions as far as colony breeding with Gouldian finches and how I know who's paired up with who, or how do I know who the parents are, and I've kind of mentioned this a little bit in my previous videos as far as I know who has paired up because I sit out here, I watch my birds, typically in the mornings or in the evening times. The pairs will nest together, or the males will sit outside the nest box while the hens are inside incubating. And I see a lot of times they preen in each other, sitting by each other, and so there's definitely ways you can tell when a Gouldian finch is paired up. And also lots of times my males will take turns incubating the eggs too, and so that's a good indicator of knowing kind of who's paired up with who. And so I do have a few young birds out here. They were babies from last year, about last December. So they're a little young. I was hoping that they wouldn't breed. To be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure if they were male or female, but some of them turned out to be females and have laid a couple eggs. And so one thing I want to highlight is I would not recommend that. I would recommend that you keep them until or not let them breed until they're 12 months old at least. And that's mostly just because they're better parents the older they are. A general rule of thumb, and throughout my experience, my Gouldian finches that are between 2 and 4 years of age are my best parents. My Gouldians that are 1 year of age that breed, I've had some that are good parents. I've had some that have been kind of sketchy, half their clutch dies, or half their clutch isn't fertile, or they don't hatch out a lot of their babies just because they're inexperienced, they're young. So when I set mine up in breeding cages, lots of times I try and get one of my birds is older. So if I have a young female, I'll try and pair her up with an older male. Or if I have a young male, I'll try and pair him up with an older female. And then that way, that kind of balances each other out and gives some of them some experience and whatnot as far as having more success. And so right now, I am colony breeding with the Gouldians just because I didn't have time to set them up in my breeding cages. I mean, I could really, I could just take my pairs and set them up in the breeding cages right now. But lots of them do have eggs in the nest and have been sitting, so we're gonna pull the nest down and candle them. And I think kind of the colony breeding's the route that we're gonna go this year, and then next year probably go back to the cage breeding. And so I would probably say that the cage breeding would be my top choice. I have had success colony breeding, but kind of like we said earlier, there could be a time when a female lays an egg in a nest, in a different pair's nest, and then that pair sits on the eggs and hatches those babies out, but it's not really their baby, but they think it's their baby. And so there's definitely some ways that, or uncertainty that you could say in colony breeding of not knowing 100% if that chick is those parents. I mean, lots of times when they color out, you can see if they're from that parent, if they're the same colors. But if you breed in a cage, then you know for sure 100% that those birds are their babies, And so a couple things that I feed my Gouldians when they're breeding. I usually will give them egg food probably about every other day. My egg food just consists of a hard-boiled egg with the shell on, some lettuce. Every once in a while I'll throw in spinach. I throw in carrots a lot, broccoli. I do have a dry egg food mix that I'll throw in as well, and mix that all together and blend it up in a blender, and so it's just kind of small itty pieces. And so I do that. Gouldians love it. They eat it quite a bit. I wouldn't suggest feeding it long term. If you feed egg food consistently long term, it can do some damage to the birds, to their livers. So when they're not breeding or molting, when it's their rest period, I will just give them seed, and that kind of helps clean their system out, helps them lose weight, kind of condition a little bit. And it also simulates a little bit of their natural habitat. You know, in their wintertime when they're not breeding, food is scarce, and that's why they're not breeding, is because they're just trying to survive. And so that's kind of one thing I do. Feed them. I give them millet spray every once in a while. I do have a finch mix, and I do add the colored pellets to the finch mix. My Gouldians don't eat them a whole lot, but my canaries love them, and so they will eat that. But I do try and offer it so that any of my birds can eat them if they would like. I will add, when they are breeding, I have a liquid calcium that I usually buy offline or online, that I will put into their water once or two times a week, and that helps with egg production, helps with the chicks growing. That's really beneficial to them. I always have a Cuddle Bone available at all times. That's kind of about it, you know. And then some good lighting, some good strong light, whether it's the sun or artificial light, that definitely helps a lot. And so those are just some things that I do for the Gouldians while they're breeding, and I've had some really good results and success from that. And so hopefully that'll help you guys out a little bit. And we'll take a minute here, and we'll pull down a couple of these nests and put the flashlight in there. We'll candle the eggs, see if any of them are fertile. Like I said, a couple of these nests are from some young females that are from last year and from my breeding season last year. So we'll see how well the eggs are. To be honest with you, if a lot of the eggs aren't fertile, there's either two things I'm going to do. I'm either going to take the nest down, or I'm going to take my more seasoned pairs and I'm going to throw them in my breeding cages and pair them up that way. And then that way they don't have the other birds to bug them. You know, they can just focus on sitting on their eggs and raising their young. So that might be something I'll do, or I might just take the nest down. I don't know. I'm kind of got my hands up right now. I'm not quite sure. It's to see what I want to do. I do have winter coming soon, and so that's definitely on my mind, and it always makes me nervous breeding in the winter time, just because it gets so cold here with snow, and lots of times we get negative temperatures at nights and stuff like that. And so that's something we'll have to keep in mind and take a look at. And so we'll come pop up here. One of my females keeps trying to fly back in here. She's wanting to sit in there. So the one that's flying back in she sits in this nest here. I have seen a pair in this nest, so we'll see if there's some eggs in there. I have a hen sitting in there right now. She kind of poked her head back out. We'll see if she might poke her head up here. You can kind of see her right there. She's got her beak right there at the very bottom of the hole. She's a pretty tight sitter. And then I've seen so this nest box is for my red rumps, but I've seen some Gouldians in there going in and out of there. So we're going to see if there's some eggs in there as well. Kind of go from there. So let's pull this one down. And I just have, there's a nail there, and I got a hole in the back. So they just hang off the side, which has been fine for me. It makes sure that the nest boxes don't fall or anything like that. And so we'll lift this up. Let's look inside here. So it looks like we got some eggs in there. Get it to focus here for us. Looks like that one was fertile at one point and has since died. Same with that one. That one's got that one right there You can see a little bit of veins in there. That one's fertile. That one looks clear. Clear. So we do have one that's currently fertile right there. That one. And like I said, this is one of my young females, so she's laying fertile eggs. It just looks like they're not getting sat on properly, which is nothing uncommon when there is new birds, young birds sitting on the nest. And so that's one of the reasons why they say to wait until they're 12 months or older. So there's some eggs. Looks like there's some old eggs in there too. So let's look and see what we got here. It's looking like most of these eggs are clear, or they just are new. So that's one thing. Looks like there's a couple old eggs in there that, and then the others are clear. So one thing I would suggest, so these eggs, most of these eggs are clear right now. I wouldn't say just to throw these eggs away. Reason for that is sometimes we check the nest and we see these eggs in there and we get excited, and then we candle them and they all look clear, and we get frustrated. We feel like they're not fertile, and so we just throw them away. When it could be that the eggs were just laid and they've only been sitting on the eggs for a day or two, and it hasn't given it enough time for the development of the babies to happen. So a rule of thumb that I have is if I check the eggs and they're clear, I'll wait another 4 days. And by that time, if any of those eggs are fertile, once you candle them again after those 4 days and the parents have been sitting on them consistently, you'll see some development. You'll see veins in there. And so if you check them after that 4 days and they're still clear, then you know that those eggs aren't fertile. They're not going to hatch. You can toss them. But so just if you check them and you see that they're not fertile, just wait another 4 days, check them again, and then if they're still clear, you can toss the eggs. Or if you see veins or development, then you know the eggs are fertile and you're good to go. So we'll check this last nest here that has one of my female is in it, so she might fly out here. We'll see. She's a pretty tight sitter. Put it down here, maybe you can see her fly out when I open up the nest, or she might sit in there the whole time. We'll see. Yeah, she's just gonna sit in there. Can I see her red head? Oh, there she goes. All right, so this one might be a little bit harder to see just because they've built the nest so well. Let me see what we can kind of see those eggs right in there. So let's see how we want to do this here. We'll kind of move this top out of the way a little bit and kind of look. I'm just checking real quick because, so if I can get it to focus here, it's not going to focus for me. So this egg right here has some veins. That one has some veins. Looks like she's only been sitting on it for about 4 to 6 days. Veins, no veins, no veins. That one's got veins. So 3 of the 6 eggs in there have some veins on them. And that, like I said, that doesn't mean that the other 3 eggs aren't fertile. It just means that she laid those ones last and they haven't had enough time to develop. So I will leave those eggs in there. In another 5 days, I'll candle them and see if those other eggs, we'll see if those other eggs develop. Yeah, it's kind of a hard view for you guys. They built a really good nest, which is a good sign. I find that my birds that build better nests are better prepared for breeding, and I have some better breeding results for them. So there's a couple looks at them. We'll zoom in here to the birds real quick for you, let you get some better views on them. So the hen that's closest to us there on the camera, she's about 3 years old. And then I have that redhead purple breast right there. He's a baby from last year. Both of my yellowbacks right there are babies from last year, but they were early in the season, so they're about a year old. They were born in October last year, so they're pushing about 11 months. I got a male and a female. And then you can see the one that just hopped on the perch there. That's a hen. She's not fully molted out. She will be a redhead purple breast, which I haven't had a whole lot of purple breasts lately, so I'm excited to get some purple breasts. I try not to breed white breast to white breast very often. It's kind of like the blueback to blueback gene. You know, they tend to have weaker babies and so forth. And so I try to breed a purple back to a purple breast to a white breast. That seems to have a little bit better results. They definitely have stronger offspring and bigger size offspring. And so I have some fairly decent sized Gouldians here. They're pretty good. You can see back in the tree, there's one of my males, or sorry, that's a hen. She was the one that was just sitting on this nest that I pushed off. And all of these birds have colored bands on their legs, so I can tell, because I have 3 redhead white breast Gouldians. There's another one there. He's a male. I have 2 females that are redhead white breast. There's the one right there stretching her wings, and then there's the other one in the tree. And so it's important that you band their legs so you can tell. You can see on her very faintly the sun shining on it, but she does have a band on her leg. The yellow one, he's got a yellow band there on his right leg. And so it's important to band your birds, the ones that look alike, for a breeding system, just so that you know who's related, who's not related, how old they are, that sort of thing. And I track all of that in my record books, and so that's something to share with you guys if you're planning on doing extensive breeding with your Gouldians, or really any other bird. There's my canary coming to say hi. Oh, she took off. And so hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions on breeding Gouldians, diet, feed, anything like that, please leave some comments below. Hit the like button, share the video with other friends that that are bird breeders. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.